All right, so no question of the day today because I'm actually jumping in and piggybacking on a recent question of the day that I did about worker placement games not having a true classic mass market intro because it's a newer genre. So you don't have a Clue or Monopoly. But also, there are a couple of these in this genre, but I'm always on the lookout too for cooperative, what you want to call them, dungeon crawl, but cooperative fighting style games in which you kind of dip your toe into a game like Gloomhaven or something like that. So today we're talking about Space Marine Adventures. Now the way this works is it is a Warhammer 40K game. It comes with some components that you just push together. You don't have to glue them together. You could. And then you play a cooperative adventure where you fight off the Orks with a K. Now let's take a look at how this game plays, what it does, and if it really lives up to that idea of an intro level dungeon crawler type game. All right, so here's Space Marine Adventures set up every time you play the game with one exception. The difficulty level will change. So we're playing Novice currently, which means there's 5 Orks that get put out per wave. The way that works is the turn order will be you set the Ork wave out, which means you roll the dice based on that many Orks. So let's say we have 5 that we're gonna set. You take randomly from the ones it tells you to set at the beginning of the card. So this one we'll take 5 boys, 5 knobs, and 5 commandos, put them in that stack over there, roll the dice. So this first one goes on 3. So we find 1, 2, 3 is here. And we already have a couple, actually we have too many on the board, sorry. But you would then take this, put it on space for 3. If there's already one there, you'd put it as close to 3 as you could. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out here, already spawned. It does tell you to put the dice back in the middle each time. Not gonna do that, that's a pain in the butt. You also have these supply tokens out here that go on these spaces. You have these spaces here for the reactors. If these all get destroyed, flipped over by the Orks, you lose. If all of your people get hurt or you go down to the 0 level here, you lose. The way you win is to survive by killing all the Orks. Basically, it's a wave shooter. Your goal is to end the end of the waves. It's really, really simple though. You'll play in initiative order essentially, which is this number here, the command order. So Brother Stormheart goes first, and you will always play with all 5 of these characters. Now, I do want to show you the miniatures are really, really nice. I mean, obviously it's Games Workshop. It's not quite the full-blown Warhammer miniatures, but they're really, really close. They look really good. Pardon the light there, but really, really good miniatures. So they're nice chunky pieces that you're playing with in a board game, which is always good to see. On your turn, you're going to move and attack. Basically, what you're doing is trying to rid all of these Orks off the map. You can do a couple of other things too. If you land on a supply token, you can take a supply card, or you can also use the supply cards based on what they say. So some of them are specifically for certain of the brothers out here. So Brother Stormheart only, Juggernaut, these are not necessarily, these are specific, anybody. When you land on one of these, you'll draw 2, keep 1. If it's for someone specific, you give it to that character. Now again, it's a cooperative game. All of these are in play, so some people may have to play with more, but technically it's 2 to 5 players, or 1 to 5 players, I should say. You lose health down to this. That person lays on his side. You can be revived on your next turn, but you just go back to here, 1 space away from death. So each time you lose 1 though, you drop on this grit meter, which means it's easier to die the further you get. Now the way you attack on the tokens themselves, they have, now some of them are bosses too, but we're playing with just basic ones in this one. They have a movement of 2. This is how much damage they do is 2. And they have a toughness of 3. So what happens is when you move, now everybody has a different type of attack. I love Brother Stormheart's because he shoots these missiles into a group. And the way it says it is if you're 3 spaces away, you can attack an Ork and everybody adjacent to it. So for instance, he would shoot here. We would aim here, 1, 2, 3 spaces away. And then you'd roll it. You roll against that toughness. So he's got a toughness of 3, we rolled a 5, which means he is toast. Then you could attack the next one. He's got a higher toughness, 6, off the board, toast. That's what you do with his turn. Now everybody has special attacks and special movements. This one is Brother Etrus may fire at the same spot 2 to 3 times. It has to be the same Ork or at least 1 space away if that Orc's not there anymore. Brother Lucian is Strategic Mind. After Brother Lucian makes an attack action, he can make a second attack action, which is nice because you've got this little strategic thing here. It also shows you assembly and paint guides in the back, but he's got that little extra head to shoot with. Brother Magus lines up 5 in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and shoots in a straight line. You can potentially kill everybody, and they have a 1 less toughness when you get attacked by him. And then Brother Sergeant Angelus here, he is a melee character. You can attack with 1 away, but you can move and attack 3 times with him. And his movement's only 1, where some of them are 2. So essentially that's what you're going to do on your turn, is you're going to move around and kill orcs, gather supplies, and then you can heal if you end your turn in this green space. You'll heal 1 space back. You'll play until either you lose by dying or having all the reactors flipped over, or you'll win by killing all the orcs. Now the way the orcs act is they'll move towards the spaces here, the reactor spaces. They'll move to the closest one, and then also try to get somewhere where they can attack you. Now, excuse me, there are line of sight rules in this game. I shouldn't say line of sight, excuse me, there are line of sight rules, but there's not range, which means you can technically attack anybody visible on the board, but they might be in cover if you have this drawn between them and you see that they're passing through a wall or passing through something. They're technically in cover, which means their toughness goes up by 1. But you're going to rinse and repeat until either you win or lose. The couple of things to show you, there are other types here. You've got the War Boss, the Weird Boy, the Big Mech, the Mechs, and the Pain Boys. These are in the higher difficulty, so we're playing Novice, but there's actually 4 different difficulties. So it goes 5, 7, 8, 9 per wave, plus you add all the extra ones in. So a lot of little variabilities there, but the game is pretty straightforward. It's a wave shooter, top-down wave shooter, one of those kind of old-school zombie like type games like that. So that is how you play Space Marine Adventures: Rise of the Orks. So that's how the game plays right there. Now, here's the thing. I really like a couple things about this game. First and foremost is the fact that it is a way to dip your toe into this idea of Warhammer. Now, admittedly, I've never played a game of Warhammer 40K or Age of Sigmar on the big table for several hours with the tape measures. In fact, I know it's a lovely game. People enjoy it. But when I used to play HeroClix at a game store, I would look over and the guys were playing and they had tape measures and they would like just all have sweat on their brow. And I was like, that looks like work. I don't know if they're having fun or not. And of course they were, but I've always been interested, right? I like the Oculus Battle Sisters game. I like the world of it. I like the armor, the way it looks, especially if you see that in real life, just kind of like how big and cool that stuff looks. Always like the idea. So what I like about it is this is an interesting way to dip your toe into that universe. So let's talk about art and art. As we always do. Obviously the game looks great. Those miniatures are fantastic. And it even comes with a painting guide if you wanted to paint those miniatures up. This is another thing about Games Workshop is they are a miniatures company more so than a gaming company, and the fact that you could paint these and they give you guides on how to paint them and they could get you into the idea of painting, which you know I love painting. I used to do videos on painting here on the Dice Tower. What's beautiful about this though is that these miniatures are nice and clunky and chunky miniatures. Now my only gripe is it doesn't come with any at all orc miniatures, but I get it because the whole point is you're shooting 30 to 40 orcs at a time. That would be a ton of miniatures. It would drive the cost way up. So you're using pogs instead of tokens, but again, you technically could put your own out there if you had them. Now, as far as art direction, the game itself looks good. The board looks good. The iconography is very simple to understand. This token means this. This means this on your your player cards. Your player cards themselves are easy to read and understand for new players. And here's what I wanted to drive home right now, because again, the game itself is pretty straightforward. It's a top-down shooter game like you would see on the classic arcades or some of the old NES, Super NES games. I think even Call of Duty did one for the zombies a few years ago where it's a top-down shooter strafing type game. That's what this is. You're shooting in waves orcs until you kill all the orcs, and that's the only way you can win. So you're essentially just surviving. But at the same time, that's an interesting concept for people. Think about it for a second. If you just played Gloomhaven and then you played this, you'd be like, oh man, this is missing a little depth. And again, I don't care one way or the other. I have no vested interest in this, but my point is this to me, and I'll put it like this to me is the ticket to ride of cooperative dungeon crawl type games. And the reason I say that is your character, let's just say you are playing with 5 people instead of 2 or 3 or 4. Your character is so easy to play as. That's all you need to know. One person needs to know the orc rules, which isn't that hard. They spawn, they move, they attack, and they attack the power console things. But other than that, you just need to know your character, and all you need to do is kill. And to me, that is the selling point of this game, is that you can sit it down with brand new gamers, people who have never played a hobby game before, and this one could be that game you intro them, especially if you know they're into like video games and things like that, or if they've played Warhammer type stuff already. This game is so solid for that, that I absolutely think this is a major win for that new intro level hobby, into the hobby. Now, I don't mean next step. I mean straight up intro level. You could play this with someone immediately after playing Ticket to Ride with them, and it's gonna feel like the same sort of weight. And don't hear that as a pejorative, because you see the miniatures, you see the tokens, you see the rules, you see the cards. All of it is so simple, and that's a good thing. But it's also just enough to where you go, wow, this is really cool. I get my own character. My character plays like this. Your character plays like that. Oh, cool. I got a boost to my character. Oh, cool. Uh-oh, it's getting heavy in here. We're going to lose. So I don't want it to sound like I'm rambling, but let's just wrap up really quick. Art looks great. The game looks amazing. The miniatures are fantastic. My only ding is I would rather have had some plastic orcs. I understand why they didn't. That's really two. Two, play style. The game itself is a little repetitive in the sense that all you are doing is moving and killing. That's it, but that is Warhammer, right? But lasting impact, this is a game that can really intro people into the hobby. So I think it's a win, especially if you're into getting people into different genres, right? So this is one that you can get people into who may not be interested in. You go, oh, look at this game, Gloomhaven, or look at, Imperial Assault or whatever. That's a dated reference. Man, that game was good. But this is a way to get them there, right? You say, oh, did you like that Warhammer game? I know you don't really like Warhammer that much, but what about Star Wars? I think it's fantastic for that. So, excellent idea. Great job on execution. A lot of fun, a lot of different variable veteran, status, difficulty levels. I think that's cool too. So, I'm a big fan of this game. You should check it out. I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you.